government already controls the money printer. It can create the currency, it can spend it, it can tax with it.
Why does that same government turn around and borrow its own money with interest? It sounds pointless, almost like borrowing water from your own well and promising to pay it back later. Yet every major government does it. The United States, Japan, the UK. Trillions borrowed, year after year, in currencies they already control. This isn't a mistake, it's not tradition, and it's definitely not about running out of money. It's about something much quieter, and right now, it matters more than ever. Because government debt is exploding, interest payments are rising, and the old explanations are starting to crack. So let's slow this down. Just the system as it actually works.
Imagine a modern government on Monday morning. Teachers need salaries, hospitals need supplies, roads need fixing, the military needs fuel. The government does not open a vault. It doesn't look at a bank balance. It authorizes spending. That's it. When the government spends, new money enters the economy. Digits appear in bank accounts. Payments clear. The system moves. This part surprises people because spending comes first. Not taxes, not borrowing. Spending. So why borrow at all? Because once that money is out there, something else happens. Too much money chasing too few goods creates inflation. Prices rise, confidence erodes, politics gets ugly. Governments learned this lesson the hard way over centuries and a few disasters. So they needed a break, a control system, something that pulls money back out of circulation. Taxes do part of that job. They delete money. They also shape behavior. But taxes are slow, politically painful, and never perfectly timed. Borrowing is faster, cleaner, and more flexible. When a government issues bonds, it's not begging for cash, it's offering a trade. Give me your money now, I'll give it back later, with interest. That money doesn't vanish. It gets locked away, removed from active circulation. Borrowing, in practice, is a way to absorb excess money. It cools the economy. It stabilizes prices. It gives savers a safe place to park wealth. Ironically, the richer the society, the more it needs government debt. Pension funds, insurance companies, banks, they all need ultra-safe assets. Something boring, predictable, guaranteed. Government bonds are that asset. In other words, governments borrow not because they're weak, but because the financial system demands it. But here's where the story gets uncomfortable. Because borrowing creates interest, and interest compounds. Every year, a larger share of government spending goes not to schools or healthcare or infrastructure, but to bondholders, people who already have money. Over time, debt quietly reshapes priorities, not through votes, not through debate, through math. Take the United States. For decades, debt was manageable. Interest rates were low. Growth did the heavy lifting. Then rates rose. Suddenly, interest payments exploded. Now they rival military spending. Nothing dramatic happened. No collapse, no headlines screaming crisis, just a silent reordering of the budget. This is the hidden mechanism. Governments borrow to manage the system, but the system slowly starts managing the government. And here's the irony. The government could create the money to pay everything. It technically can. But doing that openly breaks trust. Markets panic. Currencies fall. Inflation accelerates. So instead, governments choose discipline theater. They borrow. They promise repayment. They perform responsibility. Not because the money isn't there, but because belief is fragile. Debt is a credibility tool. It signals restraint, even when the restraint is optional. But this only works as long as people believe repayment matters. Japan is the extreme case. Debt over 250% of GDP, owned mostly by its own citizens, still functioning. Why? Because trust holds. But trust is not guaranteed. It's rented, day by day. And when confidence cracks, borrowing becomes a trap. Higher rates, more interest, less room to spend. A feedback loop. This is where hype collides with reality. Politicians talk about debt like a household budget. They know it's false, but it sounds responsible. Critics shout, "Just print the money." They ignore inflation and politics and human behavior. The truth sits uncomfortably in the middle. Governments borrow not because they must, but because the system is built to reward that choice. It keeps markets calm. It feeds financial institutions. It maintains the illusion of constraint. But every year, the cost rises. And eventually, the question shifts. Not, can the government pay, but who is the government really paying? Bondholders, markets, the past. And what gets postponed? The future. So here's the question to leave you with. If governments borrow in currencies they already control, not because they need the money, but because they need belief, what happens when belief becomes more expensive than the debt itself? And who decides when that line has been crossed?